Well, there you go. Some wonderful entertainment here at Emperor's Palace in Ekurhuleni as we witness today what could be really a groundbreaking occasion as we adopt a charter where we're going to be eradicating all forms of racism in every single sporting activity that takes place in the world. So, I mean, this is a massive occasion. It's the biggest gathering of international heads of nations, of ambassadors from the UN to all sporting codes that have come here today to discuss racism in all its form, in all sporting activities. It's called Global Watch. It's under Tokyo Sehwale, and of course him spearheading and bringing out everybody he can to try and be a part of it. Well, my next guest here is somebody who really doesn't need much introduction to football lovers around the world who are told about the Union of European Football Associations. Well, somebody who is a part of Fair Football is Piara Powar, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about this. It's good to have you. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Great to be here.
All right. So, how rife is racism in football? It's obviously massive. There's so many organisations that are against it.
Yeah. Listen, it's one of those issues that we have at a structural level in Europe. You know, we have forms of abuse on the field, off the field, at management level. And we see some examples of that right now. We have a big football owner in the UK, owns Wigan Athletic Football Club. They've been in the Premier League. And yesterday, has been talking about Chinese people in a very disparaging way, stereotypes about Jews, stereotypes about black people. He's appointed a racist manager. So this stuff goes quite deep, and I think it is one of those situations which we keep seeing reoccurring.
Yeah.
It's not something where there's one incident and it goes away. We see this continuously happening in European football.
Yeah, it really does, and I mean, it just paints such a negative picture for the game. But this obviously is not only about football. This is about all forms and codes of sporting activities. What is it that Fair Football actually does to try and get rid of this racism on the field?
Well, we campaign, we raise awareness of the problems, and sometimes you'd be surprised in how many nations people don't understand what's going on, how many nations people can't interpret the monkey chant, for example. They think it's okay, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
And then we put pressure, lobby the leaders of sport and football. We bring governments into the equation, because this is not something that can be dealt with through a few words. It runs so deep that we need strong action. And if in the UK, for example, there should be an intervention at a higher level, at a government level, at a league management level, these sort of things won't just go away, unfortunately, because they're being condemned or people don't like what's being said. We need action against the perpetrators. In the similar way that the NBA, for example, kicked out Donald Sterling, the owner of the LA Clippers, because of the comments that he made about black people and his own black players.
Yeah, indeed. You know, when you look at fans and rivalry between fans, and I mean, we were given this example of the Dutch football team posting a photograph, and then of course some of the supporters of other teams coming out and using very racist jabs against them. How do you really find the difference between being purely racist and just that rivalry that I feel so passionately about my football team, any other football team, I don't care about them?
It's a good question, because the two often do spill over.
Yeah.
And what we find is that the terms of abuse are fairly clear. So in the Dutch selfie scenario, these players are being called monkeys. They're being referred to as Black Peter, which is a figure in Dutch society over Christmas. But it's a disparaging term, the way it's being used. So the lines are drawn fairly carefully, fairly clearly, and people will know what they're doing. The fact is, on social networking in particular, people are sitting at home, either in their bedrooms or in their lounges, on their phones, and making comments that they wouldn't dare to make to somebody on an individual level, because they think they can make that comment and then not be accountable for it. So as in the Dutch case, there's a clear need for legal accountability. There's a need for the state to take action, probably stronger than most states in Europe have taken action thus far.
Yeah, indeed. We also look at statements, and we played it a little bit earlier, talking about some of the incidents of racism that takes place, whether it be football, even in tennis, where I think that the incident that really jumps to mind now is the story of the Williams brothers.
Yes.
Now, again, is that an incident of racism, or was it just some commentator trying to be funny and it really backfired?
Yeah, I think, you know, the Williams sisters have faced issues in tennis for a long time, because they're outsiders. It's not easy to see or not common to see two sisters from an inner city environment, from the place that they come from, inner city LA, who are making a success of essentially what is a white-dominated sport, a white-administered sport, and a sport that's played in very exclusive clubs. So people are resentful of that, and therefore they resort to terms of abuse. And they've been called a lot of things, a lot of them very badly. And there, I think that was a challenge to their femininity. It was a challenge to question, why they're playing women's tennis. And it's just a very subtle but very clear form of abuse
and
that
not
we see.
necessary.
Oh.
And that's the reality, is that none of these jibes, none of these remarks are necessary, because it puts pressure on every form of sporting culture.
Look, these are two of the greatest tennis players, regardless of their women or regardless of their black, in the world in the modern era.
Yeah.
I think you'd struggle to find people as athletes who have dominated in the way that they've dominated and can show the competence of this sport in the way that they have.
All right. I'm going to leave the interview there for now. Piara Powar from Fair Football is our guest here. William Gaylard is from UEFA. We're going to be chatting in a very, very short while. We just need to get a traffic report very quickly. But this is our next guest, so please do stay tuned to Morning Live to hear from UEFA here on the programme. Right now, however, Rob Byrne, how are things looking?